I'm looking forward to this conversation because I think it's like right on the forefront of everyone's mind, especially marketers.
We'll have a pretty large public backlash on how much AI is being used today.
And this is the point that I would like to disagree with Adam on this section.
Welcome to another episode of the DigiVlog series. Today we're talking about generative AI and AI in video production. Today I have two of our experts in the field, Jose and Adam. They have decades of experience between the two of them, seeing the world change as we've gone from film to digital, from flash to post-flash on the internet as well. And in this discussion, we'll talk about AI and how it's changing the world of video production, but also HCP marketing as a whole. As we go through this, we'll be unveiling a lot of tips and tricks, but at one point there is a special prize. For those of you who wait around long enough, we'll be giving Jose's top 5 tools that he uses in his post-production and his production pipeline. Jose, why don't you give us a brief introduction into your world?
Absolutely. Thank you, Trip, for that introduction, and nice to see you both guys. I'm Jose Rodriguez. I'm the lead animator here at Digibit 360 in Digibit Bio, and I've been in design and in animation for over like 15 years already. I've been thankful to have worked with Fortune 500 companies delivering work from explainer videos to all kind of 3D animations, and now since AI is a thing, I've been submerged in all of that subject, and I think that's pretty much summarized it all.
Wonderful. And that, again, it's why we have you here. And now, Adam, on more of the live action, but still in the animation world, tell us about your experience and who you are.
Yeah, so it's been about 20 years since, coming up on 20 years since I was in film school. I went to a film school in the Phoenix area and was super happy when Jose came on just because animation is tedious and there's a lot of moving parts. And so being on set and also handling the animation for Digibit for several years, it was so welcome to have another animator be here with us. So I'm looking forward to this conversation because I think it's like right on the forefront of everyone's mind, especially marketers. And it's a great tool, but again, we'll talk about this more. It's just a tool. It doesn't replace the artist.
Exactly. And I think what I really like about having you two speak on this is with your years of experience, you've seen the industry go through changes similar to this. I mean, everyone talks about AI as if it's the creation of electricity or the internet. And it's really not, it's really unlike anything else. But the similarities are similar to when Adam, I'm sure you remember the transition from film to digital filming and stuff like that. And Jose, you know, we've talked about the reduction of flash usage on websites and animating things on the internet as well. And so there's been a lot of huge changes that maybe don't make sense to the whole world, but that you guys have worked through and seen the changes happen in real time. And so I think your perspective is really good for this discussion because not only are you forward seeking and seeing, you know, like Jose said, submerging ourselves in AI and just trying to get everything we can out of it, but also being forward thinking enough and, you know, looking at what you've seen previously to understand that this is a tide and you're going to have to ride it out because there will be a peak and there will also be a valley where, you know, we'll have a pretty large public backlash on how much AI is being used today. Before we get too much into this ahead of ourselves, I think opening up and talking about the myth of the God app, one solution to solve all your video production problems. It's out there. We just have to find it. Is there anything you guys kind of want to say to that? Just getting started.
Please be my guest, Adam. I think that I would love to hear your thoughts first.
Well, I think it's one of the things I think is really important to remember is that like, because it's a competing industry that's brand new, you're looking at many players and each one is trying to find their niche in the market by really focusing what their particular AI can do, right? And so you have some AIs that are specific to research and data analytics, some AIs that are specific to sound. You know, you have something like a SoundHound that they really focus on interactive voice, right? Or you might have other ones that are specific to images, still images or specific to video. So basically what we're seeing right now in the industry is you have all these players that are trying to get a foothold in before they expand. And that foothold tends to be really niche. And so the reality is like I can generate an image on, say, ChatGPT, but that image may not be nearly the quality, or its interpretation of my prompts may be less accurate than other platforms. So I think that's where I want to start. And Jose, I know you've dove into a lot more different platforms than I have, but I've just found that like as a business strategy, a lot of these smaller companies, when they're competing against Google and Microsoft, and they're just like, we need to get in, and the only way to get in is to be very niche. I think over the next 10 years, you're going to see these small companies get purchased, where their patents get purchased up by the bigger companies, and those conglomerates will start to have multifaceted AI platforms, but we don't have that yet. Jose, what are your thoughts on it?
Absolutely, Adam. I think I'm agree with you. Like, I'm a big advocate for AI. I'm one of those guys that think that AI is a nice comparison, like with the discovery of fire, as Trip had mentioned. But I'm also agree with the statement that there is no God app for this thing by any means. Like, there's many flavors of AI solutions and AI tools, very much like there's many solutions in AI like software, right? Like you have these used for video editing, you have Premiere, DaVinci, and Logic, and I think even when you can do similar things in each of those, each of those have their own strength. So same wise as like AI, you can have multiple tools, but by then there's no means there's one that makes it all, you know. And you can have even one thing that is AI for video, but you have multiple tools that does AI video, and all of those are gonna do things slightly different. So I guess that it just very much depends on what your needs are at the moment.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would love to, and I think it would be extremely valuable for DIY HCP marketers to really just be able to, if you're a startup, if you're really early on, you're one marketer at your company, it would be so nice to be able to just, sign into Sora, type out exactly what you want, make sure it's consistent across all of them, and then edit it together, and then do some audio, uh, fixing and mixing, and then you can also do some composing, and by the end of your 3-hour session, you've got a full well-made video. But it just doesn't exist. Like Adam said, I think that's a really good point, is you have to differentiate yourself. You have to figure out what your niche is when you are creating tech like this, in order to get an edge, to be the best at audio mixing, to be the best at photo resolution boosting. There's a lot of different things that you can do with AI, but there's still some stuff that just isn't there. And as we go through, they'll start to bundle. We're seeing that with transcription services get kind of offered. I think a lot of the base AI claims that I see are, AI transcription. We have it in Premiere. We have it in our recording softwares. We have it in our AI editing softwares, if we are using some of those as well. So there's just some basics that are kind of getting bundled together. It'll be interesting to see as those kind of get grouped together a little bit more. As we kind of get into that discussion, I think transcribing videos is a really good place to start, because that is something that has a huge manual task. And one of the big issues with AI, or one of the big issues that AI solves, is that manual task. Those high value but very long, repetitive minutia tasks, where you're just doing them. And if you've ever transcribed a full video and it's 30 minutes, you have to watch it, and then you have to stop it, and you have to type out what they said, and then you have to read it back, and it takes forever. So AI transcriptions make it a lot easier. You only have to do really one pass, because it's done a good 80-95% accurate job. What are some other ways in your day-to-day workflows that you see this manual task kind of being lifted? What did it look like before?
Yeah, I think I just expand on what you're already saying. It's super important to remember, this isn't replacing your valued people at your company. What you're doing is you're expanding their ability and adding time to their focus, right? So instead of transcribing a video and that taking a day, say we do podcasts for a lot of our clients. Sometimes those podcasts are 30 to 40 minutes. That's going to take someone hours and hours to manually transcribe. But if you can use AI transcription, which we offer transcription to all of our clients on their videos, use that to the fullest extent of what the AI can do for you. Take that transcript, drop it into chat or drop it into your AI platform, and then ask it, give me 10 topics that can be pulled as short social media clips from this video. Right. So it's not just like, oh, this AI can transcribe the video so we can use it for subtitling. It's okay, now that we have the transcript, which we normally don't utilize fully, what can we do with the transcript? And so that's where I think AI has become really valuable. It's because your major stakeholders, your major content creators, your marketers, right? The people who are speaking to the audience, to your client base, need to use these tools to expand the possibilities as far as possible. And so transcription is a great example of this because transcription is a way to not just get what you need for the video to be successful in your player with SEO, but then it can also add to your potential content moving forward by giving you recommendations on how this could be re-edited into all kinds of things, right? You can take the transcript and say, hey, write us a blog, right? And then give us recommended stock photos to put in the blog. Or, there's all kinds of things that AI can do where a human will go on afterwards and go, okay, we need to adjust this, fix it, whatever. But you've saved all of the time that for like an editor, it's like the rough edit or the assistant editor time, where they're just spending hours and hours reviewing footage. For a marketer, this is the hours and hours of you writing a vlog that goes along with your, a blog that goes along with your vlog, right? You can take the transcript of the video and just tell AI to, can you reword this transcript so that it flows like a blog or an article? And it will do it for you. You can review it. Good, we're good to go. I just saved 2 days of work, and now let's post this alongside with more content. So taking what AI gives you and expanding it to the fullest extent of what its value is really important, because I think one of the things that people forget is like AI can't do everything for you, but it can make you super efficient, right? And a good way to explain it to me is like, I could have ridden a horse to work today, right? I could have, and it would have been more efficient than me walking, but I have a car.
Right.
Now I still have I still have to drive the car, right? But it gets me there a lot more efficiently than if I would have ridden a horse. And so as things move forward, we have to remember that like the tool is super efficient if you use it to the fullest extent of what it's capable of. And so I was just researching a new AI. It's a really young AI. But what's cool about it is it takes all the transcripts in your editing software as a plugin and then gives you recommended videos and time codes. And if you want it to execute, it can pull those time codes into rough edits. Now, these edits aren't creative. There's no music. It's not like it's got that human touch to them, but it allows me to save the first, say, 3 to 5 hours of an edit so that I can get into the more direct creative of that edit. And so those are the things that I'm seeing that are really, really valuable. The next thing that comes is obviously the AI's got to learn from us. Every time something new comes out, AI has to learn from us what we like and what we don't like, because it can't really have that. It's just responding to humans. It needs the human interaction to get better. And so again, we're not there to the point where you can just have AI do it for you, but what you can have AI is be your personal assistant along the way.
And I love that answer because it really goes to the heart of that question of like, what is the manual tax you're lifting? It's everything, it's the video transcription as a very small aspect of it, but you also have the timeline adjustment where it can help you get into an initial edit and kind of cut out the content and create a nice, like good, solid timeline where then you can get in and really get into the emotions of it. And rather than just like, oh, here's the context, right? Here's the actual content, the feeling you want to get across. As for you, Jose, what are some of the manual tasks you see it really alleviating from what you've experienced in the past?
I would like to add a perspective to that, Adam. I think that in the things that we do, like we are making very visual deliverables, right? Like videos and sometimes music, sometimes voiceovers. And I think all of that digital, visually visual material intersects a lot with arts, and I think that with the arts, there's much think of what you like to do, the things that you like to do, and when you like stuff, you are more efficient. You tend to communicate better. You tend to connect better. You tend to be more like effective at your work. And I think that that's one of the things that AI does. Like for all of us, I think that there's part of all of our works that we like to do better than the others. And I think that that is one way that we can use AI, right? Because in my case, like I use AI sometimes to iterate between vectorization and to craft more of the same style of some iconography that I like to use. So I don't enjoy too much vectorizing and going into Illustrator and going to manually do those things, but now I can do it with AI, right? But other people could enjoy that process and could use AI for other things. So the perspective I would like to add is that you can use AI to the things that you don't like that much, to iterate faster, right? And to do the things that you enjoy even better. And I think that will give you stronger results for your clients and for your projects.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. I vectorizing images, a lot of times clients, maybe as a smaller company, they had a logo design that came up and now they're not using that graphic artist anymore. And they don't have the raw, like the original vectors. And so we've helped a lot of clients vectorize or update their branding as we've made their content. And I know Jose's done this. When they hand us say a pixel-based logo and they're like, this is our logo, but we don't have a vector of it because of whatever reason, that used to be kind of a tedious task to recreate that from scratch, and so that's a great example because I just did that the other day, this morning, right? A client wanted in their lower third to have the skyline silhouetted of Chicago, and so I was looking at different silhouettes of the skyline of Chicago. None of them really hit. Like I didn't really like any of them. So I just put in, give me 4 options of the skyline of Chicago, and they gave me those 4 options. One of them I did like, and then I was able to tell it, transparent background, vectorize it, kick it out. And then now I can really make adjustments to it and utilize it moving forward. Before I would have to scroll through either stock imagery or I'd have to make it, right? Like I would have to trace an image with the pen, the pen tool, if you know what I'm talking about, in a vector program, and that could have taken me 2 or 3 hours. And so again, yeah, pick the things that are simple, repetitive, straightforward tasks that just bog down your creative process, and those are the spaces where AI is super valuable because then you take the results of that and then you make the art with that. That's a great example. Yeah.
As far as I think this is a good turning point too, because I really want this to be like an asset for DIY marketers to kind of see, how AI can help them surpass that barrier of entry into a lot of this video production world, right? If the more educated the people we work are with what we do, the better we can help them. And so I really want this to be an asset for them. What are some of the things that you would want to give as advice to people who might be a DIY marketer who jumped full both feet in, decided to jump off the ship into the waters of AI, and they're doing these AI video creations and are heavily relying on AI? Maybe it's from like every aspect, scripting, storyboarding, writing, creating generative video. What are some things that y'all would, advise them as they're kind of getting into that?
So, so the first thing that I would say is that it's very much like with tools that doesn't have AI. So when you're getting into a project and you see something that you like and you're just gonna just copy and paste it, what you see, people are probably not gonna connect with that, right? So if you're gonna just rip off a text that you see online, there's no option that people are not gonna see that and get that flag, right? Very much with AI too. So my suggestion would be for those marketers to be a director for those tools, AI tools. Like don't let the tool do the job. Don't say, hey, create a marketing ad for this, right? It's more like you are the one who has the vision. You are the one who has to come up with what you want to communicate or what you want to look like, and be a director for these tools. Like don't let just the AI do the job, because you're probably gonna get average results either for selling your products or even just average results that people are just gonna hate, or you're probably gonna get just face a lot of barriers to entry with those kind of results.
Yeah, and sorry, I think it's really important to remember. Like we just had a great kind of a wrap up interview with one of our clients. Awesome guy, and one of the feedback that he gave when it comes to advising other marketers was the way you want to look forever is how you should try to look now. Right? So it doesn't matter if you're a big company or a small company, if you plan to be a billion-dollar company, look like a billion-dollar company. Now, one of the things I caution, and this is kind of piggybacking on what Jose said, is that if you let AI do everything, it's going to make slop. Everyone, we're starting to hear that term, right? AI slop. And what that means is I don't think it means, sometimes it means the person has 8 fingers. Sometimes it means that they disappear into a wall for no reason. Yeah, that's AI slop, but that will improve. The real AI slop is the fact that it is heartless. It is completely heartless. It does not reach out to someone and touch them on a one-to-one basis and really give them this company understands my needs, which is why I should go buy from this company. Right? People make emotional buying decisions. And so if you're pushing to doctors or if you're pushing to patients, the last thing you want them to do is to see your ad and go, that is the least human thing I've ever seen or felt, right? Because in the end, that person has to potentially be at the bedside of a patient or be in the bed face to face with the doctor, where they're hearing bad news or they're going through something hard, or they are finally deciding to fix that knee that's been giving them pain for the last 10 years, right? So these are very personal. We all know that medical space, it all comes down to the patient-doctor relationship. Very personal, very human. And I think we're going to get to the point where visually, you're not going to be able to see the difference between AI and real footage. But I would heavily caution to take Jose's advice and be the director, because your human touch is going to be the difference. And so it's super, super important to remember that like AI slop is everywhere right now. Certain generations are very adverse to it, right? And so we need to be cautious of that as we move forward using these tools.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the point. I think what you're both saying, and one of the principles of AI as just how it exists is that it is just a predictive model. A lot of people think of it as a search engine. A lot of people think of it as like a creative tool, but what it really is it's a predictive model. So based off the words you put in, here are the words we give you, or here's the image we give you. And a lot of times you're going to, not even a lot of times, you're going to always get the most average answer. And then it starts to, again, lose that heart. It loses that authenticity. And so having that human overlook the actual content is still always going to be the case. And I think, Adam, that's such a great point, because the AI we have today, a lot of people like to say this, the AI we have today is the worst version of what we're going to have. It's just getting better. I before we even started recording, I made a joke about how we can talk about every generative AI, and there's probably one we don't know about that came out this morning. You know, it's brand new. With that being said, you get into this really cool world of what this tool can accomplish. Like anything you see in your brain, you can effectively generate and then reiterate and work on. So when it gets to a lot of the issues we have are like stock footage is a really easy way that we've been able to kind of budget a little bit more curated, in a more curated way, where instead of having a live filming session, we can say, okay, well, we'll record nothing but testimonials. And then for B-roll, we'll just get stock footage. In the past, stock footage has had its limitations as well, where it's someone's rendition of, what a very average, doctor is always going to have a stethoscope. You don't want them to have a stethoscope, but the doctor's always going to have a stethoscope. And so with that being said, Adam, what do you see in the world of generative video as a tool versus stock footage?
I do think that stock footage opportunities for generative image making using AI is going to be really, really cool. Moving forward, I think it's going to be really useful for the companies that struggle with budget. I think the gold standard is always going to be real people. Real people will always look better and more authentic, have more feeling than an AI generated person. That being said, I think we're going to get to a place where people won't totally notice the difference on quicker shots. And in that, it's just going to help those smaller companies who are like, I don't have the budget for you to be on set at the sunrise with an actress on the beach in Jersey jogging, right? It's like, okay, but we really want that kind of vibe and feel. And so we can get that shot in stock footage using generative AI, and it would look clean enough, right? It would look good enough. And it's not our primary focus, or maybe it's not our primary shot. And so it still doesn't take away from the emotion and feeling of the piece. I think that'll be really valuable moving forward for those, like I said, like mid to smaller companies that have a tighter budget, where we can give them bigger production value. I would still integrate that where if you do have someone on camera speaking, or a subject matter expert to actually film with that subject matter expert, I think that would still bring that human touch to it. But again, those kind of opportunities, and stock footage has always been this, it's a means to amplify your quality or amplify your production value without adding a huge budget cost of a crew going out and filming those shots. So that's where I see it. I still would advise our bigger clients, we have a couple larger clients, to as much as possible film that stuff in camera. AI is still quite not there yet. I think right now it's in a really great place for scenic shots of skylines, or things like that. So things are a little less human. It's better. But I know Jose has gotten it to do some really cool stuff with B-roll and stock footage utilizing people. I think we see a lot of that slop where someone's like, hey, and I can always tell by how they talk, even if I'm not looking at them. It's like, see here, they say that over and over again. Have you noticed that the AI, when you have an AI host in social media, they'll be like, see what we have here, look at what we are having here. They're grabbing this thing and the doctor's walking in, see how the doctor walks, because all it's doing is generating voiceover based on what the image is, and they don't have the context going in. Well, the AI doesn't. And so it's really easy to tell when it's a human thing. Eventually we'll get there, but again, it's like we're not there. It's not a human enough, and I don't know if it'll ever really be. So for me, stock footage is great for like those specific B-roll shots. Budget doesn't allow you to get it, and you want to fill those in, and it's detached enough that the person watching it doesn't feel like it's AI slop.
And this is the point that I would like to disagree with Adam on this section. That I think that AI is pretty much the tools are pretty much like ready for accomplishing that. I think that my advice would be directed, right? So if you know exactly what you want to achieve in your mind, so if you want that doctor without the stethoscope, and that looks like you recorded on a Sony camera with a certain film or that certain thing, you can do it. But the difficult part of it is knowing exactly what you want. And I think that would be my recommendation to marketers and all of us involved in this industry. This is the time for us to know more about the basic stuff, like everything that Adam already does know now, and try to translate it into these tools, because Adam has a huge advantage because you know the tool, you know the camera, you know how they work, you know the lighting, and all of those specifications is exactly what you need to create these things with AI. Like all of us that we don't know those specifics, we are having a much harder time. So my advice would be that to give this tool a chance and to dig into deeper on the cores of everything, like what leads the root of how you want it to look like. And I think that you will get much better results and probably not so much AI slop.
And I think that's a great point, Jose. And I think at the base of what both of you are saying is the idea is understand what you're doing before you do it. Putting that intention, that forethought into your project is only going to get your best results. If you know what cameras you like, the visual of, or what colors you like. And you can even, if you have your brand guidelines, you can put those in and be like, hey, this is kind of what I want the color palette to be like with some of these AIs. You can really get into that directing mindset. And the same goes with stock footage. We kind of both chuckled at the beginning there, Adam, but like there's been times where on documentaries or videos, you're looking for stock footage and you're just looking for what feels like days. You're just like, I can't find this right piece. And then, you know, that also happens with AI, where you get into that iterative process where you're like, you know, this isn't just right. This isn't right yet. You know, like, oh, can we make this monochromatic? Can we, you know, whatever the, you know, points you're kind of negotiating with the AI keeps happening. And you don't feel like you have enough control, at least is what I've experienced. When it comes to y'all's work, when do you think that becomes inefficient for, let's say, a DIY marketer, right? HCP marketer, or even for you, because it happens to us as well. And, you know, there's no real avoiding that sometimes. So, you know, what do you kind of do when it gets into that inconvenient level?
I think for me, going into it knowing what AI can know and what they really can't know. So sometimes, for example, we've filmed a lot of new technology that's in FDA approvals, right? So this isn't even anything that's been generally marketed. We're creating video content maybe to share it with other educational institutions who need to do research on these devices, or training videos because it's about to be approved by the FDA and doctors need to know how to use it. So the AI wouldn't know that piece of equipment necessarily. Now you can upload a lot of imagery to it and say, this is what it looks like, here's some training. But you're going to need those assets prior to. That'll help AI learn, like, oh, this is what it looks like, this is how it's supposed to move, this is how it's supposed to function. But in that space, that's where you can kind of decide in pre-production, okay, what's going to be AI generated and what's going to have to be on camera. And if it is AI generated, what assets do we need to create or film or explain to give to the AI to get what we need out of it, right? So if you have a shunt that's going in and it's tiny and it's designed a certain way, there's CAD designs, there's pictures, there's 3D renderings, there's all kinds of things that can be used to educate the AI on what it's supposed to look like. But again, that's one where it's like, okay, if you don't plan that out right, it just might be easier to get the piece of one of the pieces of equipment and film it and take pictures of it, and then utilize that with AI generative, like 3D, because you can use what you gather on set to educate the AI. And so that's where I would say is when it's things that obviously AI can't learn about, it doesn't know about, it can't look online and research. That makes it really hard for it to know what you're talking about if there's no information out there yet. So yeah, I don't know. Jose, what are your thoughts? You've done more of that than I have.
Absolutely, Adam. I think that I'm totally agree with you. And like, I think that preparation is key. Like, if you, I think with the time has passed. We are doing more pre-production than ever, spending more time on storyboarding, on planning, on ideas, than on the production itself. And this is also like what it ends up being with. So I think that if you spend more time on pre-production, just gathering the pictures that you need for AI, if you see like we're gonna need 3 shots of AI and we're gonna need these assets, I think that makes a lot of difference, right? And if by any chance, even with that, you still encounter that you are wasting time prompting, I think that the decision would be go back again into the storyboarding stage and the preparation stage and say, hey, this is not working, but because of this, and this, before you get into the AI again. I think preparation in the AI world is key, like direction.
And I think that's a great point, Jose. That's one of the things I try to express to our clients on any project is there's a reason we have this system. There's a reason we have the storyboard, the shot list, the scripting phase, the outline phase, the animation phase, the editing phase, the revision phase. They're all different checkpoints, but they're very much those guideposts, right? If you're going up if you're going down like the Appalachian Trail, you have these talisman, these key markers that tell you you're headed in the right direction. You know, that is always a good place to stop, reflect, and see, am I where I want to be, right? Is this animation or is this storyboard reflective of what I see in my head? No. Okay. Well, let's keep reiterating the storyboard until it's where I need it to be. Oh, well, the dissonance, the discourse I'm having is between the script and the imagery. So maybe I have to go back to the script. Okay, now that I've fixed the VO, I can get into the animation phase, and then we start, animating. And we have it happen all the time where we get into an edit and we realize we need to do reshoots, which we never want to do. We never want to be there. That's why we harp so much on preparation. But it happens. It happens, I think, more in animation because there is a gap between seeing a still image and seeing motion, more so than being able to be in person and film. Whereas, live action, a lot of times we overshoot. So we have more B-roll than we need. We have more interview questions than we need. We record an hour-long interview for a 3-minute video. So there's always more you can work with, but it does happen where you have to get back out there and reshoot. And so that preparation is the key to success across all our projects. But it really is understanding what you're trying to do is going to help with AI. And I think a lot of the points that y'all have been making in this discussion, so great. I think the first one being Adam's, it's not to replace employees, but expand what their capabilities are. And then 2, getting into the understanding the preparation, knowing what you want, beginning with the end in mind is only going to help you throughout. So as we kind of come to a close on this discussion, because there'll obviously be more discussions about AI, but I feel like we've kind of covered a good amount of the stuff. I want to kind of get into the more nitty-gritty discussion of it. When do you feel like AI is most useful, and when do you think it's kind of a hindrance?
I think it's most useful when there is an impossibility for you. So, so I think one, in I'll let Jose speak more to the animation space, but for me, it's like if there's a shot that is just not possible to get, you want a skyline shot of a city that you can't go fly a drone in, or you want it to look like a time period, but you don't have the budget to like redress an entire neighborhood to look like the 50s, or you don't have the budget to rent a old car to be in the driveway of a shot. All of those things can use generative AI where there's an impossibility that the client wants something or it's necessary for the story, but it's not possible for us to get in the budget or in the time that we have. And I think that's when it's where it's super valuable. I think also where efficiency is key, right? We have a lot of clients. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is how quickly we can turn projects around. And I think lately what we've been doing is not just turning projects around in the same amount of time as we used to, but giving them more. The transcripts, recommendations on future videos, utilizing the transcripts, being able to have more options in B-roll. The other thing that we use more and more is our editing software uses AI generated search. So I can, there's times where we have hundreds and hundreds of clips, but I know I shot something where someone's hands were picking up the test that they got in the mail from this particular medical provider, right? And I couldn't find it, so I just search hands and it pulls it up. So places like things like that are great for me, but for marketers, use AI to kind of give you the recommendations on what people are searching for, what's going on in SEO, how, what does this transcript do for me after the video is finished? All of those things to take what you do and expand it to a lot more and maintain your value, because you're offering more and more to your employer without doing more and more hours of work. And that's really important nowadays. So that's where I think it's super valuable. Where I don't think it's valuable is I think it can give you a lot of recommendations on really great story arcs that represent your brand, but I think a human needs to review everything AI generates, everything, because humans know when it's not real. So if you review it and you say, man, I felt something. Okay, cool. You have that spark, that thing that's going to help your audience connect with your brand. But if you don't feel that, then it's not there and the AI screwed up somewhere and we need to adjust the prompt. And so I think that's really important. And I think the last thing I'll say before I hand it over to Jose is I think the reason why I value Jose's opinion, even though we don't always agree on everything, is because it's really important that you have someone who understands and sees the market and what's doing as a whole. I think a lot of times a corporate headquarters will say, we purchased an account with this particular AI platform. We want you to use that platform. A lot of times it's linked into what you're already paying for. So if you pay for Google, you get, what is it, Gemini. If you pay for Microsoft, you get theirs, and that's it. That's all you get. And so you're trying to do everything with that one platform. The reason why someone like Jose is so valuable, and Trip, you're listed in this too, is we've been spending time in our meetings looking at several different platforms. What are they good at? What are they bad at? And it's hard to give recommendations on what to move forward and how to move forward if you don't even know the tools are out there, right? So that's where I think is really important, is having the person who's spent the time researching all the platforms, as many as can be researched, because there's so many now. And so that's where I think the pinch point is you might have somebody who's good at prompts for a certain platform, but if you do something different, that platform may not apply anymore. So
Jose, Adam, that is a great response. I absolutely love both sides of the coin. Jose, for you, what are some of the great advancements you see? What are the best possibilities for HCP marketers who are maybe DIY video creators? But also, what are some of the hindrances you see with AI?
Of course, Trip. So I guess, like, to answer like the whole question, I think that even when I seems like it, I'm a very human like pro like guy in this debate. I would like to say that nothing beats like human input, like nothing. If you have the budget, if you have like the team, and you have the resources to put it together, go with humans. Always. Like, there's not even doubt about it. But as with Adam says, like, AI is great for beating those limitations when you have it. I think that we have like a mission ourselves to serve an idea, to serve a client that has an idea, right? And I think that we need to do the best thing that we can to serve that idea. And sometimes we don't have the tools available, or we don't have the budget, or we don't have the right things at hand to serve that idea. So, for instance, on the things that you were saying, Adam, like, sometimes the client branding could be more technological, and they don't have enough budget to go and shoot like on a, I don't know, on a server instance. You can do that with AI, right? So I guess AI is great to beating all those limitations. And just to say more on that is, like, for artists too, I would like to say to all of our artists looking at this is, like, use AI for the things that are just limiting your growth, right? So don't be scared of AI just replacing you, because you won't let that. The AI will do the job as long as you want it. So do as much of creative input as you want, and let the AI take you further into serving this idea that you have on your mind.
I think that's a great point. I think that's the third core message that we've had. So, like, it's only going to amplify you as a person, right? It helps, take out those menial tasks. And I forget what the second one was. Preparation is key. So, that's the big thing is, be prepared to do it. Look into the details, figure out. Experience is the number one thing. All AI is something you can delegate to. It's something that you can offload tasks to, and make sure that you're offloading those low priority tasks, those low ROI tasks. The transcripting is the one we gave, but I'm sure there's lots of it. And if it's ideation, like Adam keeps suggesting, once you have that transcript, you throw that into ChatGPT. You can say, hey, what are 10 themes in this video that we can make smaller videos off of? But you could also take the transcripts from everything you did last year and then say, how can we repurpose these? What common themes are throughout all these transcripts? And then you get more video ideas. So again, it's really just the jumping off point. It really should be building that foundation. But then again, it's going to be a very average foundation. It's what you do with that is that magic between the artist and the tool. Would you be okay doing a list of your like top 10 favorite video or AI tools, or would you guys like to create a list of our top 10 AI tools for video creation?
Absolutely. So I guess there's one platform called Higgsfield, which has like a combination of all of the video AI tools that you can possibly imagine. hopefully they're seeing this video, but they have like everything. They have like Googles, they have links, they have anything that is video, they have it, and they have it even with early access. So to answer your question, Trip, it will be just one tool, which is Higgsfield. But
Yeah.
with that tool, you have many options from different providers. So right now, I'm using a lot of Clink 3.0. Also, I'm using TikTok's Sedans 2.0 to generate most of the realistic things, right? For vector graphics, there I know that Google is getting there. For audio, 11 Labs is fantastic. Also for transcription, that would be my recommendation too. And that would be like my top 5, but Higgsfield has them all.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. It's been a great discussion where we talked about, the key points with AI in getting your experience with AI. Preparation is key. Make sure you're at the right phase in your journey. And third, it's not going to replace you. It's only going to make you better if you use it the right way. One of the suggestions that both gave is to use it to, again, take away those low ROI tasks and develop, systems that help put you in a position to make the most return on investment with your given skills. So with that being said, get started in the generative AI space, start iterating with tools, find out which pain points you have in your journey. And then if you really want to take the first step, you could comment down below what your biggest AI hurdle is so that maybe we can talk about it further. Because like I said, we're going to be talking about AI for years to come. Don't be sick of it now. It's only the beginning.